Hello everybody, it's Demon Maya, and today we'll be reading 10 creepy true stories to keep you awake at night. Number 10. The Murdered Girls. In Birmingham, England, a 20-year-old woman returned from a dance with a friend on the evening of May 27th after parting ways with a companion. The young woman never reached home. The next morning, she was discovered assaulted and murdered in Errington Park. Though a man named Thornton was charged with crime, he was acquainted with murder. The murder was never solved. The young victim's name was Mary Ashford. The story took place in 1817 and again in 1974 with a victim named Barbara Forrest. These two girls met their fates 157 years apart under bizarre, similar circumstances. Though neither of the killers were ever brought to justice. Number 9. The Inhuman Invader. Doctors at a hospital in Magdalen, Colombia were presented with a patient who was in bad shape. The 41-year-old man was HIV positive, and his medication was having breathing problems, and was off his medication, was having breathing problems, and was dealing with a tapeworm infections. Tumors on his lungs indicated that the breathing trouble was most likely due to previously undetected cancer. But there was something odd about the tumors. As one of the man's doctors put it, it looked like cancer, but the tumors were composed of cells that were not human. The tumors, which had attacked the man's lungs, liver, and adrenal glands, were confirmed by DNA testing to be composed of tapeworm cells. Apparently, the man's compromised immune system had allowed the non-human invertebrate form of cancer to take hold in his body. Doctors were unsure how to approach the treatment, but they never got the chance to try. Within 17 hours of the bizarre diagnosis, the patient was dead. Number 8. The Faces. University of Kentucky physicians were similarly perplexed by a 67-year-old patient who was experiencing disquieting symptoms, though he had no history of dementia or mental problems. He had been seeing things hovering all around her all the time, specifically faces. Terrifying, disembodied, elongated faces with huge eyes and teeth. Understandably afraid that she might be losing her mind, the woman was almost relieved to receive a diagnosis of Charles Bonnet syndrome, which occurs in patients with rapidly deteriorating vision. Accustomed to input, the brains of patients with this condition simply make up their own input to replace whatever is missing. The resulting hallucinations are more such as flashes of color or small animals. In this woman's case, the blood-curdling visions became less frequent once she was diagnosed. Number 7. The Signature. Pretty sure I didn't say that right. When an Illinois woman's purse went missing from her home one evening, her boyfriend decided to review the footage within the home's multi-security camera system to pinpoint where she had misplaced it. As the couple watched footage of themselves sleeping on the couch on the foreground, their blood went cold as an intruder emerged on the recording of the top of the stairs. He was holding the purse, standing motionless, as the man watched the couple as they slept for 15 solid minutes. The door to the balcony had been left unlocked, which is the only way the intruder could have entered there. Nothing was stolen except for the woman's purse. No one can imagine the supreme unease that must linger after watching the eerie footage, especially consider that the man has not been caught. Number 6. The Swarm. As two young hikers got ready for an easy jaunt through the park in Arizona during the day, a cloud suddenly appeared on the horizon. The cloud of thousands of angry swarming bees immediately seemed to zero in one unfortunate 23-year-old man. As his horrified companion watched, the man was set upon by the entire swarm. A fellow hiker and a pair of park rangers were unable to even approach the man, who was completely enveloped by bees. Responders reported that the man was still covered with bees when he was loaded in the emergency vehicle. The entire swarm even persuaded the responders as they rushed to the hospital. Upon arrival, the swarm had finally dissipated, even though for the man to be treated only because the bees had done their job. The man died shortly after. Number 5. The Guardian. Responding to a tip from a local fisherman, 2 Utah police officers discovered an overturned car in the frigid waters of the river outside the town of Spanish Fork. Suddenly, they were shocked to hear a voice, faint but unmistakable, coming from the car. "Help me," it called, and indeed they did find someone alive in the vehicle, an 18-month-old girl who most certainly did not call for help. Her young mother, whom police later determined had been simply ran off the road for no apparent reason, was dead in the front seat. Certainly she had not called for help. So who did? The voice wasn't just in our heads. It was plain as day. I remember hearing the voice, and it didn't sound like a child just saying, "Help me," explained one of the officers. Despite hanging upside down for 14 hours in the bitter cold water with no food or water, the child survived, thanks largely to her mysterious garden. Number 4. The Death House. The Death House. For one Pennsylvanian couple who wanted to put a new insulation in their recently purchased older home, the renovation became the stuff of horror movies as they uncovered the insulation that was already in place. Throughout the walls, there were species and other items, the carcasses of dozens of animals, wrapped in tattered newspapers from nearly a century ago. Cleanup of the grisly find was not covered by their homeowner's insurance because of the problem obviously predated the policy. As a result, the family was forced to remove the mess themselves at their own cost. Local histories say the items are the type that have been used in the old Dutch magic, which does not make living in the house any less creepy, nor does the smell, which won't go away, and the fact that some of the walls have not yet been renovated yet. Number 3. The Twins. In a suburban neighborhood of Chattanooga, Tennessee, there was a well-kept house occupied by 2 elderly men. Neighbors haven't seen the identical twins for some time, although the lawn was all maintained and the mail never piled up. Family members had last attempted to check on them in the last few years earlier, but they've been unable to gain entry. The pair normally kept to themselves. When police finally forced their way in to do farewell check at the instance of neighborhood residents, they were met with an eerie sight: the skeletal remains of the 2 brothers side by side in their respective easy chairs. They had apparently died as they lived in isolation, and so they remained silently sharing each other's company for 3 years until they were discovered. No signs of foul play were found, which does nothing to make this story any less creepy. Number 2. The Watcher. One Pennsylvania family purchased one of the $1.3 million dream house. Letters began arriving at the home from someone calling themselves the Watcher, and indeed this person seemed to be watching. The unknown person writing the letters claimed the home had been the subject of the family for decades. Whatever that means, they had been put in charge of watching and waiting for its second coming. whatever that means. The little writer began asking unsettling questions like, have they found what's in the walls yet? They also expressed their pleasure to, you know your names now, and the names of the young blood you have brought to me. An investigation by local police yielding nothing for the family, they moved out immediately to file a suit against the previous owners of the house. Number 1. The unfriendly. Similar troubles began for a Washington family when their teenage daughter's phone began sending texts by itself. The family's devices began to turn against them as an anonymous, scratchy-voiced stalker, whom the family dubbed Restricted, began calling with details where they had been left, where they had been, what they had been wearing, and what they were doing at the very moment. He said he was going to cut their throats. As if that wasn't enough, the caller played back recording snippets of private conversation between family members. Even the family's private conversation with the local police detective was somehow recorded, played back. As the family members have been thoroughly investigated, cell phones have been also analyzed, all to no avail. The stalker or stalkers have not been identified, neither has a potential motive or even by means of harassment has been carried out. Well, I hope you guys like that. I might be probably doing more of these. I'm going to try updating every few days. Editing takes at least an hour, maybe 3. So, if you guys like the video, poke the like button in the eye with no regrets. Check out my previous video, and subscribe, and comment which story you like the most. And I guess I'll see you guys next video. Goodbye!